What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another tropical forecast here by HWRF Forecast. But before we get further into the video, please subscribe if you're new. I really do appreciate it, guys. We've been getting a pretty good amount of support with the past 24 hours, and I really appreciate that. Let's keep that coming here. Hit the like button if you really enjoy the tropical forecast, so I can continue to do them until the 2020 never-ending season actually ends. And hit the notification icon so you get notified as soon as I do a mostly daily uploads here. But we're going to be talking about tropical storm Iota. It actually finally formed here quite quickly here, and it is now, I believe, at 50 miles an hour. And it's heading for areas exactly where Iota made landfall not too long ago. And it had a chance to become a major hurricane, which is what I expected here. So this is going to be very unfortunate. We're going to be looking at the time, the cone, strength, worst impacts, and all of that in this video. But without further ado, let's get into it. So here's looking now at the National Hurricane Center. As you can tell, there it is. Iota's at 50 miles an hour. It was at 40 miles an hour this morning. So that has tried to gain a bit more strength. This is only the 5th advisory here, so it's already now at 50 miles an hour, only on the 5th advisory, and it is moving very slow, which is the reasoning that I think this could very well RI in those very warm waters that we have in the Western Caribbean. I mean, this is going the exact waters that where Iota was, and Iota went from Category 1 to Category 5 in one day, because Iota was obviously a Category 5, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions. I don't see it as a Category 4, but it basically jumped from Category 1 to Category 5 in less than 18 hours. And Iota's heading those exact waters, and those waters haven't changed much, and that's only 2 weeks ago. Nothing has really changed really much in the waters, so Iota could very well continue to blow up. So in the next advisory, we can see 50, then 60, then 70, and just continue to increase there to potentially major hurricane status there. But that's exactly why, because it is moving west-southwest at only 5 miles an hour. Pressure is continuing to drop. Only 1,002, but I believe that's just because it became a tropical storm sooner than expected, so pressure wasn't able to actually follow it. But yeah, this is what we have in the National Hurricane Center. But let's go and take a look now at the satellite imagery and models, intensity guidance, track guidances, and all of that. So here's looking now at IR. So this is actually taking a look at convection here. So I can tell it is pretty close to areas like northern Colombia and areas like Panama, but that low pressure isn't necessarily where all that convection is. This convection since the start this low pressure has been outside of its convection since the start. The low pressure's mainly in the open here, but thank goodness or really unfortunate that it doesn't have any shear or drier, because the thing would get ripped apart if not. But it's very unfortunate that there is very favorable conditions, so this storm's going to continue to really blow up here to the point where there is a LLC there. But you see there's some convection starting to blow up on the eastern side, but there was a lot more convection on western side and the southern side especially than it is now. That's because it was probably at its dural maximum at that early morning hours, but now it's kind of going through its dural minimum phase, and that's just kind of normal at this point. But I do expect to see this gap in convection here on the western side to close off in the next 24 hours. And obviously, compared to 24 hours ago, there was a lot less convection, than there is now. There's a decent amount of convection starting to produce on the western side. Obviously, it has kind of disappeared on the recent few hours, but I do expect this by the next zero maximum by probably most likely this evening to cover that gap. So it can very well see some concerning strengthening in that time frame after this evening. So tomorrow could be very interesting here, but hurricane watches are issued in the exact areas where we had them for Iota. And honestly, it's just extremely, extremely unfortunate. Iota was a Category 5, and I'm going to say it was a Category 5. They got hit by a Category 5 hurricane 2 weeks ago. And this could very well be another major hitting not exactly the exact areas, but the exact areas where Iota impacted. And that's just unfortunate. National Hurricane Center is only calling for a Category 2 here, but I expect that to change here. I expect that to change because it could very well RI maybe sooner than expected, or even more severe than expected. But they have it becoming a hurricane by tomorrow evening, so becoming a hurricane, and then making landfall as a Category 2 hurricane on Monday evening. So hurricane watches are issued for much of the Nicaragua coast and Honduras coast here. And it looked like there's a chance for a huge northern shift, but now it's actually gone south into Nicaragua. So Nicaragua could very well get the direct landfall from this. That's 2 hits from potentially two major hurricanes, because this still has Category 2 for National Hurricane Center, but I expect that to change. Global models and even hurricane models, they all show a major hurricane, so I do expect this to become a Category 3 or 4, and I'm saying that because those very cold or those very warm waters and how slow it's moving. I don't see this being a Category 2. I see Category 3, most likely even a Category 4, and I know that sounds really out of the box there, and a little bit of, that's way too much, but it's just going off what we've been seeing. We've learned from Delta and Eta, Zeta, all these storms that have gone through the Western Caribbean, and then it goes possibly out to the Eastern Pacific. So could it do like what the storms have done this year that have gone to Central America, where they actually have gone out and survived in the Western Caribbean, like Amanda that came and became Cristobal. I mean, that's a chance this could very well become a disturbance in the Eastern Caribbean there, but just very unfortunate for the Central America area. I mean, obviously, that's just not something you want to see at all, or anywhere specifically, but especially for Central America. I mean, they just got hit just less than 2 weeks ago. It's supposed to make landfall in the next 60 hours, so there's not much really time to prepare here, and there isn't really much to do except the best is to evacuate half of these cities that are in the path of this cone have gone either destroyed or slightly destroyed from Eta, especially the Nicaragua coast and the border with Honduras when we had huge landslides. It's just not something you want to see, and these soils are still saturated from how much rain Eta brought. I know it's been a week and a half, but with 2 to 3 feet that Eta brought, those soils are probably still freshly saturated, so it takes a few little winds just to take down those trees. But anywhere from really the northern Nicaragua area, so it's kind of gone more southward instead of northward. All the models are taking it to kind of the coast of Honduras, but Honduras has been spared. But Nicaragua, that's just the country we just don't want to get hit. We don't want to have a single hit there at all for the rest of the season. But that's just really unfortunate there. It really, really is. I kind of sucks that you can't do anything about it. Just forecast. That's what I said on my stream with Eta. I'm probably going to say the same thing here. But earliest models get this to a hurricane in the next 18 hours. So we can barely have a hurricane. Very well less than what the National Hurricane Center shows. The latest shows 24 hours. So really, all these are showing becoming a hurricane before tomorrow evening. So we can very well have a hurricane before and ahead of time. And that's why we are seeing a major hurricane possible. All those models that have it becoming a hurricane before the National Hurricane Center does, they all get to a Category 3. It's exactly what I'm saying. I feel like the National Hurricane Center is being a little bit more giving on the forecast. I know they wouldn't make it up and make it lower just to not cause panic, but still, I feel like they are playing it down a tad. And I do expect an RI to occur more severe than expected and sooner than expected, which is why I think this could be a hurricane well before the National Hurricane Center predicts, and that means it could very well be a lot stronger than the National Hurricane Center predicts. I'm not really in a Category 4 the possibility. We have a lot of models, over 10 models, getting this to a Category 3. Almost all of them are getting to a Category 3. Only a few are getting it at least not forming, or only Category 1. So this is very concerning that we have a lot of models that are agreeing with me, and I don't want anyone to agree with me. I don't want anybody to think, oh, definitely a major hurricane, because I don't want that major hurricane to happen. I don't want anything to hit Central America. I don't want anything to hit anywhere in Central America at this moment, because Eta and obviously Delta still has harsh impacts on Mexico still. Obviously, this is heading towards Mexico, but I mean, it's still, like I said, in general, Central America. GFS gets this to 975 millibars in the next 42 hours. 48 hours, 970, and then 957 in 60 hours. And making landfall at 956. That's just not what you want to see at all. That's just not what you want to see. And then it possibly goes back out, and there's even a chance maybe for another Central America storm heading maybe for Panama, and then going up the coast, and then hitting the exact same area. So we just can't afford another hit, even if it's a very weak tropical storm. We just can't afford anything like that. We just can't afford another hit. Central America obviously is not out of the picture after Iota. They're still all November and December. The Western Caribbean is going to be still active for the next few months, or for the next few weeks, all the way to December. Yeah, I said it, December. Even though the season ends on November 30th, it's going to be a fairly active season for December. Obviously, let's see. This is our third named storm in November. The record is 4. The record's 4. So we can very well break that, if not tie or break that record for November. Obviously, there's one storm looking out from North Carolina and another storm heading for Central America. So that's already 5. So we can very well not only break the record for November, but we can very well have a few storms in December. And that are probably most likely happen in the Western Caribbean because those waters are going to stay warm for quite a while. They don't really cool off significantly until really January. Let's check out the total amount of accumulation. I just don't want to see this number at all. Oh my gosh, well over 2 feet. I mean, that's just really unfortunate. Really, oh my gosh. CMC here, let's see what they're showing here. They've been very bad with the storm. They only get 990 millibars. They've been very considering Icon still having it going pretty much near the border with Honduras at 970 millibars. So also kind of being a bit more generous. This is probably the only time I'll say this season, but I actually agree with the GFS. That's kind of the only time I'll say that. European, you can kind of you can definitely tell by the vorticity how strong they have it at. They only have actually 850 millibars, so we'll check that out here. But yeah, they're getting it fairly strong there. A big vorticity area bubble there, so that's just not what you want to see whatsoever. But let's check out HWRF, and this will be the last thing we check on this video. So HWRF has been fairly accurate with storms to the Western Caribbean. They aced Delta. They aced Eta for sure. They aced Eta, which is why I'm really concerned if the HWRF becomes right this time, because you know why? They have it at 967 in the next 48 hours. That kind of sounds really just out impossible. Same thing happened to Eta. Everybody said, what is HWRF showing, including me? I even said that, and it ended up following HWRF. Actually became even stronger than what HWRF said. So HWRF seems like it overreacts storms, but they end up being right. I mean, again, this is a hurricane model. It focuses on hurricanes. It has to be accurate at least a few times, and they've been accurate in every storm that has gone this region, the waters, and I can very well trust them with this. One of the very few models that actually can trust every single storm. Well, not every single storm, but most of them. And why I think I'm really concerned is because they have it at 947 millibars. The only good thing that will happen out of this, obviously, nobody wants 947. That's the category 4. The only good thing is, if it gets that strong, it'll go north and possibly avoid a Nicaragua landfall. Obviously, just because it's not going to hit Nicaragua doesn't mean I want it to be stronger, so avoid. Obviously, that puts lives at risk for Honduras now. I'm just saying there's going to be bad and good things for each, whatever it does. It's going to be good for Honduras if it keeps with National Hurricane Center, but very bad with Nicaragua. There's going to be good and bads about this, obviously, but there's going to be way more bads. But they get it at 938, and I believe Eta was 922. They had 920 on Recon, but they didn't put it there. And then it makes landfall in Honduras. But it's still going to be pouring rain for areas like Nicaragua and Belize. So it's just not going to be even better. The very large wind field is still going to bring some impact from Honduras. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.